snowboards come down the slope, and they're dangerous because they're just like a missile.
Shaun White, you helicopter in here, bang your mom and your girlfriend, and then set your board on fire.
Kimi, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me and Transfer about your journey. And I think, like, I don't know, we go way back, but there's two things that I know for sure that we have in common, and that's the love of deep powder,
yes,
and the love of deep, meaningful conversation.
Yes. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Tora.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is like, I'm so happy and honored to be doing this interview with you, but I'm like, it's a close one, you know. It's like it's your, you know, as a friend and a colleague, and just like, I don't know, I think it's so brave and beautiful, and I don't know, in every way sharing your story in its entirety. And I think we're here because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and yeah, we're gonna just chat about your story and what you've been through. But I guess before we get there, I did write a few notes because I want to remind people of who Kimi Fasani, you know, is in the snowboard world. You know, you've had this different life for the last little while, fighting for your life and, you know, normality. But I want to say, Kimi Fasani, welcome. You have had such a beautiful snowboard journey, and it's still continuing, but you really, in my mind, have been like a really integral part of the progression of women's snowboarding, from your own abilities, you know, and pushing trickery, to your amusement park. Was it amusement park? Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah, amusement park, and then that went into Amusement Mountain.
Yeah, which was all about supporting women in progression. Like, really, this theme for you has always been, you know, supporting women and progression, and, you know, with your professional career and snowboarding and supporting, you know, women. Like, I think it was what's the organization that you worked with, and Mothers, is it? Yeah, to like really support change in contract verbiage to allow like motherhood to be a part of professional athletes worlds. Like, you go beyond snowboarding, but, you know, in the snowboard world, you were one of the first females to be a part of the male dominated snow crews, film crews. And that in itself is like you've got to be one tough woman with a lot of resilience to like push through that and be as successful as you were. You won Video Part of the Year, Writer of the Year, right? Like, yeah. And I just remember, like, you know, I wasn't at the awards, but I remember watching online, and just like like that was a huge moment for female snowboarding for you, but the whole female snowboard industry. And what else we got here? We got Ambassador for POW and Boarding for Breast Cancer, which is a crazy beautiful you know, story coming together. And I didn't know you were an author.
I wrote a cookbook with Mimi Cruz, who used to be a pro snowboarder early on in her career, and then she opened a bakery in Mammoth, and her and I worked really closely. I don't know, I love cooking, I love food, so that was something that came out during COVID.
Yeah, I don't think, like, I remember seeing it, but I didn't realize that like that was your creation with Mimi, you know, because Mimi has her shop. But yeah, author, real estate agent, mother of 2 boys, wife to a, you know, insanely talented husband also. And now you and Chris have just started a foundation, which kind of leads us into this conversation, and, you know, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I guess, where does your story start?
You know, I mean, first of all, I have to say this conversation is so beautiful, because everything that you just said about me, it's like I I see so much beauty in the way that you built your career too. And the conversation I think that we're going to have is about, we have all of these successes and all of this progression, and you moved women's snowboarding in so many ways. And as a parent now, you're navigating that same course. But what I think is really, what I've been really inspired by through this journey, even though it's been so remarkably hard, is normalizing us, normalizing the fact that we might look like super women and superheroes from what we can accomplish, but health can still sneak up on us. And that's the most humbling part of this journey. Was I thought I was educated. I was an ambassador for Boarding for Breast Cancer. I still am. But as a woman, there's just so much that I really didn't know. And I was not aware of the risks that I was going to face at such a young age. There were so many almost lies I was telling myself about my body. And I think that's why I really decided to speak up, because if I felt that way, I'm sure there was a lot of other women that felt that way about their bodies, or just like that, how we're invincible. And if we're not under 40, or if we're not over 40, we're not at risk of breast cancer. Like, I'm 38, I'm close, but I think it's really important to just realize, like, we have to be so in tune with our bodies the same way we are in the mountains. And it just takes it to a new level. I feel like we get to a point where we're so tough that we might forget to check in on our bodies sometimes. And that's maybe what I did. I knew something was going on, but I was breastfeeding, I was busy. I just made a lot of excuses. And here we are. I learned a lot, and I'm just hoping to help others realize that they should just pay attention to their bodies.
Yeah, I feel like athletes of any kind, but also mothers, like, you come last. And
Yeah.
you've had a career where you're never 100%. You never feel amazing every day on the mountain, because you're always nurturing something, or you're tired, or you just got to show up and do the best you can. And then doing that, doubling with motherhood, where it's just like you get home and you eat last, you shower last, like, not you are, everything comes before you, kind of thing. So yeah, to give the time to be in tune with your body, I guess, is the challenging part for anybody, because we can always, I guess, say, oh, I'm too busy, excuses, kind of thing. But what was it that that led you to, like, did you routine check yourself, or like all the time? Like, what was that? How did you know?
Yeah. I want to say I was on it, but only really because I was breastfeeding. Like, you feel your boobs a lot when you're breastfeeding, because you're like, which side has milk? Like, you're trying to figure out,
you're like, oh, that one's full. No.
Yeah. So like, I had an idea of what was going on in my breasts. And when my youngest was just about 2 or 3 months, I got mastitis, I got clogged ducts in my right boob. And it started to just get kind of annoying. Like, I just had this like bump there, but it was all triggered because I had clogged ducts. So I just kind of kept equating it to that. And then over time it got bigger, but it was not what I felt like would be breast cancer. And I just kept being like, just like kept massaging it in the shower. And I thought it was just a redundant case of clogged ducts. And so time went by. Unfortunately, like 7 or 8 months went by. And then I was doing a self-check in the mirror. My boobs were definitely, they were different at this point. My right one was always bigger, but I had some red on my right one. It was bigger. It was swollen for sure. And I was doing it.
Had passed by this point and everything, like, yeah.
And I was doing a self-check in the mirror with Chris next to me, and I put my fingers in my armpit, and I was like, just an immediate like red flag. I had this pea-sized rock hard nodule in my armpit, and I was like, oh gosh, like kind of like giggling, kind of nervous, but just kind of wanted to rule it out. Chris is like, you should definitely call your doctor. So I text her the next day, which was a Sunday. Thankfully, I have an amazing doctor that I can reach out to personally. And she immediately was like alarmed. She was like, I want you to come in first thing in the morning. And I was like, okay, that's weird, but it's probably nothing, like really thinking that I was like overreacting. And as soon as I walked into the doctor's office, I had a mammogram, and they decided to do another one because there was obviously something going on. And then I had an ultrasound, and then they called in a second ultrasound tech. And so I just started getting like this like elevated sense of concern. And then as soon as I saw the breast surgeon, who happened to be in Bishop, she's normally down in San Diego, she looked at my breast and clinically was able to diagnose me. She was like, of course, we'll wait for pathology. But like, Zep was outside with Chris because I'm still breastfeeding. He's only 9 months old. It was like just such a whirlwind of emotions and reality and life altering in 2 seconds. And so I felt like it was incredibly challenging. I didn't talk about it for a few weeks outwardly because I was just trying to process everything. And then when I did start sharing, I think a lot of it was out of self-preservation, because somebody brought it up that it kind of helped me carry the load of everything that I was dealing with, having other people support me through it and our family. But yeah, it was definitely fast-paced whirlwind.
Well, and I remember you were just on my mind. Like, I was in Australia. The world was kind of closed down at that point. We were touching base before Zep was born, and you were just on my mind. So I messaged you, and I'm pretty sure that same day you wrote back going, yeah, we're, this and this and this, but this message is really timely because I've got some news to share. And I just remember reading it, and I'm like, and it was hard for me. This wasn't happening to me, but it's like I couldn't write back till the next day because it was like, okay, well, what does this mean? I've never heard of this type of cancer, and what does that mean? And yeah, like being so distant, like I just remember like I just want to be there in person, and I just thought it was like a quite kind of an interesting reaction from myself to like not be able to write back straight away. I was just like, whoa, Tora, that's weird. But it makes you realize that people, that life is precious, and people in your world really, really, really matter. And even though our lives have been separate in snowboarding careers for so long, but like yeah, it was just crazy to hear that news, and to only a small part be able to grasp what was ahead for you. And I think I still, like, even when I was back in the States and seeing you, I still didn't quite understand the journey you were on because I wasn't physically there seeing you. And then watching your documentary that has just been released this month, like, oh, Kumi, like visually seeing some of that and hearing your babies, and it's just, I mean, you had a decision to make. I guess it's like, all in, because I want to be here for my babies. And I guess like going through the chemo and the radiation, like what was it that kept you, I guess, committed and, in your whole heart, mind, and body and spirit to get through it?
Yeah, I think that sharing that video was a way for others to kind of have a window in, because I think it is like there's so much curiosity in this journey because it's so undefined. Every diagnosis is different, and even though there's protocols, like there's all different types of treatments you can choose. And from the get-go, the surgeon that diagnosed me, she said, because you have HER2 positive breast cancer, it's inflammatory, but because you have HER2 positive, this chemo protocol and drug protocol typically melts away the cancer. So if your tumor is truly HER2 positive, there's a great chance it's going to be completely gone. But you have to go through this really aggressive treatment, and it's going to be really aggressive because you're stage 3 and you're a mom, and we want you to be able to survive. So they knew that I was strong, and thankfully that's one of the biggest lessons that I really learned through my journey was, I mean, Boarding for Breast Cancer has this amazing campaign, be healthy, get active. And I always, in my head, just associated being an athlete, like I'm living a healthy and active lifestyle, I eat well, I am not at risk of cancer. In my head, that's the story I was telling myself. And the beauty,
I'm doing everything right.
I'm doing everything right. Like I watched both my parents die from cancer. I'm not going to live that lifestyle. I'm going to do everything I can to avoid that lifestyle. And not even that they chose a lifestyle, but I just wanted to I thought I was doing what I needed to do to keep my body from getting cancer. And the second the word cancer comes into the story that's obvious all of a sudden in your own life, I mean, I thought it was a death sentence because a lot of what you hear from cancer is death. And when my surgeon told me, okay, like you're really lucky because you are really strong and because you are so active, you're going to be able to tolerate the treatment. It just totally put this light bulb off in my head of like, okay, think of like the hardest things you've ever done. And a lot of that was the association to climbing mountains, being in the mountains, persevering, doing hard things, like channeling your energy in the mountains and focusing on progression and finding that space where you can really harness yourself and your power. And that's how I got through it. There were so many dark moments, but I just had to keep rising above, and like finding that depth to your spirit and soul in a way where it's really fighting for your life. Like it's fighting for your life, but it's fighting for passion. It's fighting for my kids. It's fighting for strength. It's fighting for community. It's fighting for awareness. Yeah. And as I went through all of my treatments, and after certain scans, my cancer was going away, I was like, this is why. Like, that is why. It would have been really hard to keep that fight going all the time, if I wasn't having positive results. I would have still been fighting, but I had some optimism.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't apologize. I just realized I don't have my mom either.
I think I ended that one. Sorry.
No, but I mean, I think that was so much of it, like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and kind of thinking about it like you're a season. Like I really visualize life in seasons and everything's temporary. And so knowing in a year from now, I should be good. In a year from now, I should be good. It's like an injury. Like there's so many tools that I took from snowboarding that really got me through it.
Isn't it so beautiful? Because I snowboarding and life, they're all lessons and blessings all rolled into one. And I think I read that when the chemo was going in, you just visualized it being white light healing, not what the chemical compounds are. It was white light healing you. And I feel like just that visualization alone and that like energy exchange, I was like, yes. I was like, of course. And that's, I don't know, I'm speaking for myself, but visualization was a huge part of my snowboarding, and that's where I learnt it for my sport. But then for me, I really put into play in childbirth.
Exactly. You harness yourself and your power.
Yeah. So it's and I think in your documentary too, you said that it was like being an athlete and being so physically active was what made you a good patient. So
yeah. And I mean that in so many ways, it's like from the mental strength, from the physical ability to know how to recover from injuries, from really being able to separate myself. You know, I started kind of seeing myself as like this body and this spirit. And my body has been through a lot. My body has scars. My body has had to fight a lot of chemicals and has had to redevelop itself, you know, recalibrate itself. But then there's like that spirit inside you that is passionate and just has like a desire to be free and live. And it's like this whimsical creature that just wants to be outside and be playful, you know? And so I feel like there's two parts to it, where all of a sudden I started feeling really trapped. My spirit started feeling really trapped in my body, because I'm like, my gosh, I've never just like had to like show up this way, where I wasn't in control and I was being dictated on how to recover and what I had to go through to survive. So it was really like this teamwork of my body and my mind and my spirit just having to like unite and sit together and really listen to each other, and just recognizing like nothing that changed on my body, shaving my head, cutting off my boobs, you know, like that, none of that matters, because it's really that fight inside you, like that spirit connection inside you that is your will to live.
Yeah. And I remember, I mean, I must have been so annoying, but like literally every time I saw you, I was just like, you look amazing. And I'm sure you didn't feel amazing, but like I was just like, whoa. But like when I was like, I should apologize for like that. But like I think it was your spirit, because obviously it's more than just a physical journey. Like you have to go deep and process and mourn. Like, you know, I mean, I felt guilty breastfeeding my baby in front of you, and you're like, oh no, don't worry, like I've already processed that, you know. And you're just so open, and I love seeing that it seems to be no different than you are with me, than everybody. Like you really are open. Like you're like, you want to see my scars? And I was like, yeah, I kind of do. Like, and it's like, it's raw and it's real, and I love seeing like that it's all out there for everyone to see, because you know, people might think it's a female only journey, but the thing is, we all have mothers, we all have sisters, we all have aunts, we all, you know, we have girlfriends and wives, and you know, that it's a human thing to go through. And yeah, I think we're not meant to suffer alone in anything, you know. And I know that watching you, you know, I've had some injuries where I've kind of taken it inside, and that's how I process. But I'm just kind of like, no, like Kimmy is like, this is all powerful. This is beautiful. This is the way it should be. And like, I don't know, from me looking from afar, like I feel like just watching friends and family coming from afar to sit with you during chemo, and just be with you, and you know, support your family and your husband with the kids. And like, was that like, what did that mean to you, having that?
Gosh, so wholesome. In some ways undeserving, you know. It's like you call on everybody and everybody shows up, and nobody was inconvenienced. It was just out of love and compassion, and everybody wanted to help. And I feel like that really opened our eyes to just the community that we're surrounded by, you know. And in snowboarding, I've always felt like it's far beyond just a community, you know. It's a family, it's a like-minded group of individuals that sees mountains in a different way, and has a love language with the outdoors that really resonates. And you can see somebody carrying a snowboard up the mountain, like however style they carry it, and you're like, yes, you know, like that person is out here. That passion, you know, that passion for the outdoors. And just knowing that we had so many people like surround us and really help us get through it, that was the way that we did get through it. And having very little family, having all of our friends show up just made us realize how big our family actually is. And it doesn't have to just be blood, you know. It's like, our family is global. They came from everywhere, and they truly supported our journey so that we could get through it. And that ultimately is what really channeled us into starting the foundation, because having that support system was how we got through it, was our survival, was the backbone. It gave us people that we could talk to in candid and transparent, frustrated conversations about the journey. I could be sad, I could be angry, I could be emotional. And I was carried through that because of our community. And I feel like as we go through hardships, I mean, even as you've gone through a lot of challenges. And I feel like so many of us, we process things differently. But my personal opinion is that we do all really have a healing space in nature, even if it's just you step outside for 5 minutes, whatever that looks like. Showing and trying to connect people back to that healing power. And with mental health, I feel like it's just a really great stepping stone. We had so many resources come forward for us, and we wanted to be able to kind of be a resource for other people. And that's where the Benchetler Fasani Foundation kind of bloomed from. It was right in the thick of what I was going through. We'd always said we wanted to have a foundation when we died, like any excess funds in our trust, like start a foundation. And then Chris was like, as soon as I was diagnosed, Chris really expedited the process. And even now, like I still need a lot of time to spend outside, and yet we feel like it's a fruitful time to have other people hear our story, see how it's impacted me in such a positive way. Like the bald face trip totally transformed my recovery. And the fact that obviously Burton stepped up to support me and my family, and Jeff Pensiero at Baldface, like the fact that everybody united and helped Chris plan this amazingly epic surprise, just really invigorated our desire to show other people experiences. Because if you would have told me Chris was taking me on that trip, I would have said, absolutely not. I mean, even like my best friend was like, Chris, you're so crazy for doing this. She cannot. Like, I could not leave the house.
Oh my God.
I could not leave the house because I had a lot of bathroom breaks. I had to be very close to a bathroom.
Yeah.
After my chemo treatments. And so, he scheduled this trip like right in my worst time frame, like right in like that.
And was this when you were just done with chemo, right?
Yeah, my last treatment.
Yeah.
So it's like you're weakest, you're like you're most beat down. But I swear to you, Tora, like I stepped on my snowboard, and maybe you've had this feeling too. It's like I felt like I was plugged into a power source. It was like zzz, battery charge. All right.
I mean, in Baldface too, there's a special energy there.
There is. And the community, the team was there. I'd been pretty isolated. I hadn't been able to see a lot of people. Just being reconnected, and it just totally brought me back to life. So
I personally have similar feelings with nature, like so much healing potential, and like hearing you voice that is just like, yes, like everybody needs to plug in. It's like getting a big hug from your mama, like Mother Nature. There is so much there. And I don't know, that makes me happy that like really, if he had told you, you probably would have said no, right?
Yeah, absolutely not. I'd have been like, can they put a porta potty on the cat? Because I might need like a Costco roll of toilet paper. But they planned it so epically, and my body totally, it surprised me in the most beautiful ways. Like I thought that I was going to have 2 runs and then have to go into the lodge. Yeah. I rode for 3 days, all day, every day. Never had to have like emergency bathroom stops until like the night when I was isolated,
Yeah.
But it was just like this, it was this beautiful unfolding of purpose and passion. And
then like the whole team there too. It's like, these are your people. You'd been isolated, struggling, like, trying to rebuild your body, and then you're back with your people. And I don't know, we're meant to be together.
Yeah.
Doing things we love. So
I believe it even more now. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I just it's like literally watching that video you put together was, I don't know, it's only 15 minutes, but even knowing your story personally, it's beautiful. I hope everybody gets to see it, and thank you for being so open and putting it out there, and Burton for
Thanks for watching
supporting you. Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess like, so your main intention with the foundation is to bring community to people going through cancer, and will you like have kind of like experiences like in the future, and like where's that going for you?
Yeah, so initially with the foundation, we're hoping to provide scholarships for people to have experiences in nature. So if somebody has been through a hardship or loss and they're struggling to kind of like grieve their old self, or they're trying to harness themselves again and find that power within, we want to be able to say, hey, okay, you want to learn how to rock climb. We have Sierra mountain guides in the Eastern Sierra that want to take you out, and we will pay for that course with them. You want to go touring in the backcountry, you've never been, we can also get the crew together in order for these people to have that experience. And just really allowing them to see that they're bigger than any hardship. You know, they are more resilient than any hardship. I feel like our minds are they're so programmed to see darkness. And when we are actually channeled to light, it's so much easier. And nature, for me at least, has been that light source. I can sit on my couch and feel sorry for myself, be very pitiful, and just be overwhelmed, you know?
I think it's okay to have those moments, right?
100%.
Like you have to feel thing in its entirety to be able to let it go, kind of
Exactly.
thing. Like what you're feeling is right. It's okay. It's not wrong. It's not right. Like it's
Right.
just the way you are.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and being able to sit with yourself and be able to process and grieve and being okay with it. You know, for the last 5 years, I've really gone through a lot of transformations because I've always been kind of walled off. I've had to have like a certain image. I've told myself stories. Like I thought that women's progression had to look a certain way. I thought I had to fit inside this box. And the beauty is when you start to get to know yourself and you dig deeper and you find a deeper conversation within yourself, maybe through hardship, because I do feel like hardship and these challenges, even if it's an injury, really stretch you. You know, it stretches you
It
outside your
always propels you.
yeah. And so
It
having
has
to go,
or it sinks you.
right, right. And like choosing how am I going to choose to get through this? Am I going to mask it with all the other things that I could distract myself with? Or am I actually going to sit with myself and find a way to navigate my emotions, my feelings, my healing, and find that purpose again? And so somehow I've learned how to speak up. And that has honestly been another source of healing for me, is being allowed to feel and talking about it and not feeling like I can't.
Yeah, totally. And what a beautiful, like, you know, Zep's young, Koa's he knows what's going on. And what a beautiful thing for him, like so heart-wrenchingly hard, but this, you know, what he will remember from just watching you, and you know, the hardship, the grace, you know, everything that you are to get through it. Like those boys, they're like they have so much just from being in the energy of it all. Like they gain so much, in my opinion, that it's like you can't get that anywhere else. Like, you know, I'm sure you wished it to be different, but there's always, I guess in your mind, like, are there any, I guess I call them collateral beauty moments, like so much heartache and, you know, but looking back, are there things that just went, wow, that was actually incredible?
Yeah. From the beginning, when I knew that I was not only going to be having to nurture myself through this, but I was also going to have to be educating my children and nurturing their understanding. That's really when I just started having to let go. I had to let go of what I was going to look like. I was going to have to let go of my hair. I was going to have to let go of how my body was going to be in comparison to the rest of societal's norms of what women look like, and showing my kids that it didn't matter, you know, like that it was okay, that transformation is beautiful, and that we evolve, and that just because we look different doesn't matter. Like that we are accepting of everybody and in every form. And I really, because Koa is so intuitive and loved reading books, I just would sit with him and read books about cancer so that he could kind of start to understand it in a way that it wasn't just me talking about it or crying about it. It was like, oh, this is something that I can relate to in a way that that book talked to me about it. And so from the very beginning, when I shaved my head, when Chris and I both shaved our head, I told Koa, look, when I'm getting better, my hair is all going to fall out. I'm going to go through treatment. My hair's all going to fall out. But when I'm getting better, you're going to see my hair growing back. And that in itself was so wholesome for Koa, because he was able to hold on to that. And the second he started seeing my hair growing back, he was so excited. And even now, like today, he found a pink crystal, like a pink quartz crystal on a little walk. And he said, this is in case any more breast cancer cells come back. This is to protect you. And it's like, he understands now that it's a cellular thing. And even though he might not know what that looks like just being able to go through the process and really nurture my children's understanding, and not trying to show them fear in everything, but adaptation, you know, transformation and evolution.
Yeah, it's such a powerful story that they'll come to understand, you know, more in time. But yeah, just again in your video, like there was so many moments where like Koa's like, want to shut this cancer party down, mom. Like I was like, oh.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
The beautiful processing of their minds, you know, and at the same time, it helped me process too, because I had to come up with ways to educate myself. So it wasn't so scary, you know, and it was just a process, and there was going to be grief and there was going to be sadness, but that's okay, because that's part of life.
And so where are you now?
I just had a PET scan and I'm cancer free. I'm cancer free, which is so exciting.
Yes.
I know, I'm like just a year shy of this diagnosis, and what they expected to happen was that the cancer would melt away, and it did. And I have a lot of scars to show the courage that it took to get through it. And I'm honoring those, you know, I'm not going to do reconstruction. And I think that's another stepping stone for me through this process, was the curiosity. I wanted to kind of kill the curiosity of people, because I am curious. I want to know what it looks like. I wanted to know what I was going to look like without boobs. And it's really hard to find imagery that's relatable. And that's, I think, why I decided to show. I wanted to be able to like drop the curtain and have people go through the journey with me, so that when they see me, they know what I look like, you know, like there's still like this sense of transformation that I'm going through, because I walk around and I don't mind anymore, but people probably notice that I don't have boobs. So there's like that curiosity. I want to help normalize this process for any other woman that's going through it. And I want women to know that we can relate to one another, you know, just because you don't have reconstruction, it's not a bad thing. And I get so many questions of, when are you having reconstruction, or should I get reconstruction? And I think it's such a personal evolution of your own self and what your own desires are. And for me, I didn't really long to have boobs anymore. And my doctor really nurtured my decision making by helping to educate me that my cancer could come back, and it was just another way for it to be hidden. So that was my decision. I was like, okay, like I want as little risk as possible.
Well, and it's another surgery or multiple surgeries, right? Like
exactly. Multiple surgeries. I want to start regaining my lifestyle, my life, I want to be outside. My body has healed. I'm starting to feel stronger, and I just want to be able to.
And your boobies have fed both of your boys.
Exactly.
Yeah. They did their job.
They did. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that part is like, that part's courageous. Just going, this is it. It doesn't make me less of a woman. Like, this is my story. Hear me roar.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I think so much of what I've experienced through snowboarding, and especially women's evolution in snowboarding, there's been a lot of hurdles that we've all had to jump over, and jump through. We have had to be catalysts and advocates for ourselves and really help the industry realize our value in so many ways. And in some ways I was really insecure. Like, I had to always wear a hat, and I was afraid of my wrinkles, and I had to have my hair the same way. It's like I had to show up in a way that I felt like I was accepted. And through this process, having to accept who I am and my hair at any level, and just looking in the mirror, and not every day is a good day, but like looking in the mirror and having that acceptance and that self-love for yourself, and just going, my looks have nothing to do with my ability level, and
who you are, how you show up in the world, how you treat others, how like
Yeah.
it means very little, actually.
yeah but there's such a handle on it, so trying to help also shift
Like, your hair is looking really good, Kimmy.
Thank you. It's very small.
But I mean, I don't want to take away from that either, because obviously we want to present ourselves to the world in the way we feel happy too, and that means our physical appearance.
Of course.
But I guess, how big is the way you speak to yourself? Like, do you have to watch what you allow your mind say when you look at yourself in the mirror? Do you?
100%. And even I mean,
because I'm sure it's a process, right? Like, you're cancer free, but you're still recovering. Like, that, it doesn't, just because it's not there, like, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, but like, there's still healing to do, physically, emotionally, like.
Yeah, and emotionally is what I've been most cut off guard recently, is like the grieving of the self that was, the self that will never be again in that form, that naivety, that I lived in before having this, where now it's like cancer can always come back, as in anything, right? Trying to still dismantle fear the same way I do when I'm on a snowboard, and not living in the idea of all the what ifs, instead really trying to focus on the right nows. And right now, the most important thing is present moments and time with my family, time outside. And then it's counterbalanced, because I also think it's really important to spread awareness. So helping to share the story so that other people can, hopefully, if they ever find themselves in this situation, they know, for one, they're not alone. For two, early detection is like the lifesaver. And like that awareness of our mind and body connection is really our saving grace to get through any of this. And so yes, mental healing, physical healing, a lot of acceptance for myself. I still catch myself feeling insecure with, I try to wear a bathing suit and I have no boobs. I'm at the beach with my kids, I have 2 boys. How do I educate them so that when people ask them about me, how do I have them have confidence? So there's a lot of things that I'm still going to face that I haven't even opened up yet. And so much of it is just starting with like the acceptance for who I am now and what I can do.
And from, watching my family and, sisters and brothers, kids, like, open and honest conversation is where it all starts too. That's where the empowerment comes in every aspect, because kids get more than you give them credit for, So I'm just like, yeah, your boys will be fine because they have you and Chris as their main people.
Yeah.
They're gonna be little forces in this world.
Yeah, same with Flo. I can't wait to get them all together.
Oh my gosh, shredding. 100% coming to Mammoth this winter and
Oh, I can't wait.
doing weekend warrior trips, and
Yes.
it's going to be so good.
Yes.
But I guess like one comment before because I'm like, I feel like that kind of ties the conversation up, but one more comment, like that, like through all of these conversations, like it just keeps coming to my mind that like sport is such an incredible gift, whether it's just amateur sport just because it's fun, whether you're a professional, like sport equips you with so many skills to deal with life. Like I'm just kind of like, whoa, like with, listening to you, I'm like, you have drawn parallels between your career and then what has helped you, fight for your life. And, I just, from my life too, I'm just so grateful for sport. And I feel like that's why sport and needs to be a part of every young kid's life, whether they continue with it or not. Or, maybe it's not, I don't know, maybe it's not exactly sport. Maybe it's just, connecting to nature and what it has to teach you too. But yeah, I'm feeling really, really grateful for the lives we've lived.
No, me too. I mean, there's just so many things that it like helps you overcome. It helps you, it gives you, you have to learn how to navigate things that are somewhat unpredictable in sport. You can't have everything controlled. I'm a very planned and organized person. And snowboarding changes everything about your planning and organizing. Instead, all I can do is like plan the clothes that I'm wearing. You don't know if it's going to rain, snow, be sunny, too hot. It's like you can try to put everything in one category, but you can't. And you really have to learn how to adapt. And the tools are just so, you build new tools every time you go out into the mountains. Never one day, not every day that I've spent out there is the same. And I think that is also beautiful, just seeing how everything is temporary. And then when I had kids, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so relatable because every stage is temporary. And it really teaches you that.
When you say like now you're in this phase where you're just trying to be in the present moment, not in the future, not what ifs, I feel like some people spend their whole lives trying to meditate their way there or learn how to be present. And again, like being in the type of sports we're in, it's just like if you're not present, you're not there. Like you're the flow state or whatever you want to call it. But also like motherhood, it is what it is, and you're in it because if you're not there, your kid's running down the street kind of thing.
Yeah,
not with
totally.
you. It's like, it's beautiful life and all of that.
Yeah.
But so I guess now snowboarding, what's in the future for this winter for you and snowboarding?
I am still so drawn to Alaska. Like that is really where my heart is. I just want to be there.
Yeah.
I think I would love to spend some time in Haines or Valdez again. And I just have had so many great experiences on my snowboard, but I feel like there's still so much to learn in that environment specifically that really expands my mind and makes me really excited. And I love it. I love riding powder, and I just want to be in soft, deep snow all the year long. And that sounds so selfish, but I will find myself hopefully riding a lot of powder.
Yeah, so good. Does Elena Heights cover make you like inspired or what?
Yes. I mean, just snowboarding, women's snowboarding in general. I see the level of progression that has happened over the past even 5 years. And it's just remarkable. Like
I'm pretty happy that I've done this out of the competition world.
Yeah, Tora. I mean, thank you for leading the charge too, because that's part of it, right? Like there had to be these stepping stones. And I think what is happening now, watching Zoe, watching Elena, they're proving that limits are totally unbreakable. I mean, sorry, totally breakable.
Yeah.
And that we do not belong inside a box. We are allowed to have the biggest imaginations. And when you're surrounded by the right people, the right crews, anything is possible. And I tell my kids that all the time, like anything you put your mind to is possible. And we are seeing that, and I really have to credit a lot of the guys in our sport really helping to nurture opportunities for women. And I think
and
that's
that's what I see. That's what it's taken for
yeah,
this like honoring of who we are. We're not the same. We're not competing against them, but like honoring exactly who we are and giving the opportunities and seeing where it goes. And then look what happened.
exactly.
Wow. And thank you. And I didn't mention you're the first female to do a double
Oh yeah, right,
backflip in the
Laura.
park. I'm like, I'm like, forgot that one.
Yeah, there's so much inspiration there from you, obviously at Powder Mountain, and there's doing that trick in the park. It's like, it's crazy that that was in 2011, and you look now where we're at, and like the limits that these women are pushing are things that I never even realized were something that would be happening for guys or girls, and
It's really incredible. Like Zoe is one for me where I'm just like mega fangirl. Like,
really, and hearing the guys clout for these women, it's
yeah,
like so inspiring. Hearing
yeah,
people talk about how Elena rode in Alaska this year,
yeah.
Mark McMorris, Danny Davis, like so inspired. Brock Crouch, like absolutely inspired by her riding. It's like, yes, like this is why we come together. This is how we have built this passion.
Can you imagine if everyone was given that positivity and that opportunity and not like pulled down? Like, I was like,
Yeah. And I do hope that we're getting there. I hope that we
Yeah.
are getting to a level where people realize opportunity does really bloom that next generation
Yeah.
of possibility.
Well, and I think the next generation is a little bit more like, fuck off, I'll do what I want kind of thing too. It's like 0 F's given, which is amazing, because like for part of it, like, I don't know, I wanted to stop competing for quite a while, but I felt like I had to, there wasn't this opportunity to go and do the snowboarding that I really wanted to do because this is what was expected of me, and now I just go, whatever, I'm doing it, but back then I was like, yeah, cool, okay, yeah, I'll keep doing it. So I'm like, this next generation, like they're shedding all of our crap. They're really empowered.
And in the most humble of ways, I really hope that all of the things that we've done to impact the sport are in some ways not forgotten, but like I hope that the younger generations don't even have to think about these things. Like I don't want them to have to think about, oh, motherhood is a limitation. Oh, my crew is a limitation. Like I want them to just feel invited, included, and provided for. And I hope that that's what all the groundwork that we have both done is really for.
Well, and like, it first starts in the home. It's the way your parents talk to you. I remember my dad, when we were just kids, like, first starting to snowboarding, he's like, it's all about the double barrel roll. And I was like, dude, he's right. Like back in like, the early 2000s, like late 90s, pretty much. He's like, you got to do the double barrel roll.
Wow.
Like, okay, Dad. But
amazing.
it all starts in the family where you talk to your kids. Words have power, and then friend groups, and then it all, and it's exciting. It's pretty funny how our conversation has gone from Breast Cancer Awareness Month, your conversation, into like female shredding.
Yeah.
But it is a really, really exciting time, and I guess one question, because for me, like sometimes I look back at what I'd done and it seems like it's a different person since I've become a mother, because obviously I'm still snowboarding and I love it, and it's just in a different capacity. But like, do you have moments like where you go like, is that a different lifetime ago, or is it still very much like you?
I think that's a great question. I think it's been something that you live in this past life in some ways. Like, I still maintain my sponsors. I'm so grateful for all of that. But I've definitely faced a bit of resistance getting back on the mountain for the past 5 years. And I think people expect me to show up the way I was 5 years ago, maybe when I won whatever awards and I was in Alaska with absinthe. It's like, that is still who Kimmy is. And yet the evolution of Kimmy as a mother is really hard to accept, because I'm supposed to be a professional snowboarder, but I want to help other families get into the mountains. And I know that there's a way to lift that side of the communication and conversation. And
It's
so
an evolution.
it is. It's evolution. And
be the
and
same. You shouldn't be the
accepting-
same. Yeah.
and accepting our roles now as who we are, and I can watch Elena strutting and be so inspired, and I'm just like moved, and it really makes me want to be back out there. But I'm just so grateful that our sport is in such great hands. We have so many incredible women bringing the torch.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like that's kind of a perfect way to round this out. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing all of your hardships and greatness. And thank you for being such a beautiful custodian of the sport.
Thank you, Tora. Thanks for also
It's such a
leading the way.
pleasure. And I'm so excited for what lies ahead for us all.
I know. Family POW trips.
Please, let's get deep.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimmy. Is there anything that I haven't said? Anything you want to say? No.
No, I think that was so wonderful. Thank you for the beautiful conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. I love you.
You too. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you. I'm stoked. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Kimmy.
Yeah, thank you.